I'll be reading two short stories from my Dark Matter Gothic series. The first is called The Lion Tiger, a fairy tale parable. There was a Puerto Rican barrio realm inhabited by alley cats. Most of them were brown, thin, and lithe, and others were plump and compact. There were even some white, black, yellow, and mixed breeds in this industrial desert-like area designated for the brown tabbies. But there was one unusual crossbreed. Since he was a kitten, he was smaller, but almost their size regardless. He was a golden brown complexion with some tiger stripes. But what kind of brownie are you? The semi-rabid gang of strays hissed. I'm Ken Cat, a lion tiger, he exclaimed, though they thought he was boasting. You're a what? That makes no sense. Lions and tigers don't mix. Besides, you're just an alley cat like us, about our size. And there's no such breed as a Ken cat, only tomcats and bobs. But I'm a kitten. I've yet to realize my potential. This is as big as you'll ever be. Ken cat's long mane raised, as if guided by that deeper conviction which couldn't be validated through other senses. But they interpreted his rising defiance as a challenge. You want to fight, Ken Cat? He didn't know how to say no, but it was too late as they surrounded him. Though his unacquainted spirit was so vast, eternal, and distant, like the cosmos itself, that he didn't know how to connect to it just yet, for the oppressive laws of gravity allowed their blows, scratches, and bites to rain down, giving him the illusion of powerlessness. They left him bloody and bruised, but they didn't defeat him in the way they thought. He had not mastered his fighting spirit. This is one of life's greatest deceptions and secrets. You neither win or lose if you lack mastery. When you have self-mastery, you neutralize most attacks at the subatomic and psychological root. He lay bloodied and sobbing, licking his wounds. How dare he think that he was no more than a mere alley cat? Suddenly he had cathartic flashbacks that seemed to transform the actual fight into what it should have been on the spiritual level. He vanquished them all while hearing revelations. They defeated you with their physical and psychological assaults because you're still young and developing. They were full-grown, rabid strays, knowing every lie and dirty trick in the book. But you could have been so much more. They had to do everything possible to get you when you're vulnerable and full of self-doubt. Maybe they could do more, or maybe you could have showed them the example, but they despised their prophets. Years of more humiliation and abuse passed. Ken Cat no longer believed he was a lion tiger, becoming an overgrown alley cat with mangy golden brown fur and oversized dull claws. But he looked more like a mutation than a misidentified species, as if something had impeded his evolution. Most of the strays had died from societal neglect, starvation, or incarceration, or from wounds suffered in territorial scuffles. Ken Cat was haunted by reoccurring wonderful nightmares that a mighty lion tiger roamed through some fantastical realm with his dragon kindreds, griffins, sensual angels, and other mythical creatures. He wished for real nightmares, ironically, nightmares of suffering hellish torments, for they offered more relief than the guilt and self-damnation of giving up on your dream. But he kept on living and was adopted by a beautiful, athletic, long-thighed, lengthy, mercury-complexioned, bespectacled young lady donning short jogging shorts, Nancy Rodriguez. She was out jogging. She was determined to get out of the barrio and become a good news anchorwoman, not a propagandist for fear-based racist reporting. Social activist, she wanted to be a social activist reporter, pop singer with a message, an actress with vision. She had all these revelations after taking in Kencat, her spirit animal. His life struggle made this meeting worthwhile. His life regret becoming her boundless opportunity. His regrets becoming regets through her. You're a little old and worn, but you're still so handsome and lovable, she said. I'm going to take real good care of you, and you'll continue to inspire me. He purred against her jutting, smooth knee as she pet him. She's allergic to cats, but not this one. She picked him up and jogged off to her apartment. The end. Now I'm reading Project Incrowd, or Pop Revolution. The script for Project Incrowd can't be changed, or so everyone believed on some elusive level, neither conscious nor unconscious. This social blueprint allowed for many scientific, technological, and educational innovations, like this enclosed super city. This high school was centered around and situated in outer space. So it's a high school that's in outer space, border like a satellite. Why settle for equality or revolutions when you'd be denied your favorite super celebrity, athlete, and television shows? For students, this airborne school was even more of a crucial point than college, since youth, innocence, and cynicism, rebelliousness, and uniformity wrestled with individuals more for the sake of reconciliation than contradiction or other conflicts of character. The final chance for planning immortal wills, as opposed to learning academic skills, sacrificing curiosity. High school was the do or die of conscience, an unwritten prerequisite for any higher education. Those students projected their conflicts onto each other in the forms of status wars. Puerto-Rican transfer student from the inner city has been placed in Class X of Earthside High. Progressive schools still operated in totalitarian societies so that democratic facades could be maintained. Progressive schools still operated in totalitarian societies so that democratic facades could be maintained, discouraging deeper dissent. Yep, fascist schools could still have liberal education. This school differed from the others because it encouraged nerds, bullies, jocks, and outsiders to mingle more closely. But this was not meant to encourage diversity or community, but to exasperate differences, making it easier for everyone to accept their roles. Give the jocks too much attention so that the geeks will resent shaming and bullying, for they'll feel ostracized and teachers' pets and all that stuff. They'll be outspired to study extra hard and so forth. When the struggle becomes a predictable clash between vanity and ingenuity, faith and skepticism, support whatever subversives, no matter if they're inhuman, subhuman, and superhuman, so that the overseers can profit from the very counter-authoritarian forces of resentment bred by whatever outsider. When the nerds are ready and strong, flip the script of envy and one-upsmanship onto the unappreciated cool. So they'll gang up on all the teachers' pets. The teachers and counselors the teachers and counselors knew when to interject. Their mentoring, setting the example for future agents and devil's advocates of all kinds. Wars, conflicts, celebrity gossip, and competing political interests had their roots here in terms of bipartisanship. Hence allowing novel upstarts to learn ways to rig the game. Though he was just another punk freshman in everyone's black eye, Though he was just another punk freshman in everyone's black eye, Ken didn't come to learn, but teach. He's not from one possible future, but two, maybe more. He's seen a future where the bullies and jocks run the world with their military. You know, I meant the bullies are the tyrants. They run the world, forcing the nerds to design it with their innovations, while the nerds control everything with their mega technology in the other simulation, commanding the militaristic jocks. But he sees another possible world. He was the worst student here, though he'd answered the teacher's questions with math limits numbers, language and grammar hinders communication, and art discourages creativity. Nancy Rodriguez was a track and field star and amateur kickboxing champion. She was the leader of the Radigals, comprised of models, cheerleaders, actresses, and other aspiring celebrities or athletes. But she didn't like the in crowd, though her innate talent allowed her to be like some detached director to the wannabes, despite a deeper part of her doubting this game. Was she really as good as they said she was, or was she pre-programmed to excel? That's what she envied about Ken, who seemed genuinely self-created even in his stumbling attempts to create different ways of learning and playing sports. He literally created his own everything, his own sports, his own paradoxing, his own art, his own way of communication. But she embraced the benefits of gal privilege or diva privilege, rather than explore sides of her unknown potential. What were those privileges? Though Nancy was athletic, charismatic, she caused others to hallucinate that she could dance and comment on social issues she didn't believe in. They just listened, even though she had no expertise. Beauty and power formed the ideals of their fascism. She, along with the guys, had the advantage to their culture struggle. But Ken warned them that the nerds they harassed would be pushed to create superweapons and perfect mind control technology, subjecting everyone to their cold intellectual rule. Specimens like herself would be limited to mere enforcer roles in the military. If that's true, we have to kill the nerds now, she yelled. We can't run things better. People will be forced to study, not have fun watching us strut our stuff. Not have fun watching us strut our stuff. No, there's another way. The script can be rewritten rather easily since it was composed generations before the space occupation. It's all about survival of the fittest, my dear. It's possible to create games based on constant accomplishments. That doesn't make sense. Sounds like you say we don't need to earn anything. That doesn't make sense. Sounds like you're saying we don't need to earn anything. Well, we earn by learning. Just add the L to earn. L as in love. Loving to learn and earning. Everything didn't start from a beginning, rather from the ultimate ending, an ending comprised of everyone rewriting the cosmic narrative according to some shared experience, a shared schizo experience, a self-revising universe that reveals its secrets according to your unknown wishes, a kind of an amnesia and schizophrenia we can recall and reorder in some higher form. I can't communicate more yet. Well, you seem to be stuck in some idyllic past. Were you transferred from one of the Earth schools? Were you tra- were you transferred from one of the Earth schools? The Earth schools were considered the backwards kindergartens of the post-nihilist future. They were controversial, like affirmative action, like, in their minds, undeserving people who couldn't keep up in an unfair system. What do you mean? Her eyes darkened, and her smile was wry, like a psychiatrist validated to evaluate what was delusion and factual. Sounds like you think you have some special insight, like those posers once called prophets. It's a lie that they were misunderstood out of time. Humans always thought the same. It's the wrong people who ruled that decided what's true. They say science is bad one generation, then spirituality, technology, but that this trend is no good, then they say it's hip all of a sudden. Nothing but hypocrites, doubting what we always know. Everything that was considered lost knowledge has been uncovered. There's nothing controlling us but our insecurities and jealousies. Everyone just blames. It's so simple if you know your place. By the way, there was a typo with, I often have typos with numbers, so there's a 9 for the F, so it could hint at numerology or something like that. But why did Nancy agree when the nerds say what? But why did Nancy agree when he said the nerds would rule if the in crowds didn't stop them? She didn't question his sanity when he said he's from the future, warning her clique about this scenario. She went along with that version of the script. Maybe she can absorb more. Then Ken vanished. Maybe he was never there. High school came and gone, but she dropped out of college to be the first champion fighter to have her career adapted into her action movies as she climbed the ranks. Another level of documentary and virtual reality shows, VR. She was a superheroine in VR anime like movies, only her bio was rotoscoped in the most surreal way. Her gym, songstage, boxing ring, high school, and other places she hung out in were the green screens for the cinematic simulations. She helped pioneer the ultimate trend, being the actual icon that writers, directors, artists, and whole production teams envisioned and expressed in redundant, derivative ways. So this is going to my thesis of reclaiming our visionary mind, how I think our adoration for celebrities and heroes and fantastic narratives, whether in comics, Hollywood, sci-fi movies, all that stuff is all related because they represent our deep cosmic connection, our own inner powers. So, so I forgot to mention in the story, I set the example, though I alluded to it by creating my own style in that school, that alternative school, which celebrated hip, upgraded versions of traditional adventures like sports and competition. So many followed her example of combining all her experiences. Artists became the warriors they drew. Athletes became the poets their emotions inspired. Athletes became the poets, the emotions that inspired the writings of their emotions. Sorry, I'm lost there. All human expressions converging into an ongoing expression. It was still an ego show, but that undercurrent discouraged either scenario Ken warned about. Producers, corporate tycoons, and other oligarchs were forced to acknowledge that the people knew what they wanted, reclaiming their visions, creating their own characters, supplying and investing. The tycoons supplied and every invested everything according to the demands of the populace, not the other way around. People were freed from the pressure to influence, recruit, and dictate, whether inadvertently or not. No more contests, cattle calls. So no more auditions, and producers were freed from the pressure to influence public opinion because people knew what they wanted and created their own narratives by way of Ken's example and Nina's and Nancy Rodriguez's example, which Ken inspired her. The potential to develop non-compromising expression via the unidiversity was still possible, as opposed to ever more totalitarian institutions under the guise of elite feudalism, super materialistic, dispiriting, glitzy super cities like this present one. Well, this way of combining narratives into some penultimate expression which freed culture was what made Ken such a pioneer. He had already combined his passions of being a shamanistic, self-exercising MMA champion and dismantling the ultimate mind control, soul control system on the primordial level. He created conceptual thesis comics about the nature of the very reality which drove everyone to be something akin to super beings, in material forms. The things pop culture, sports, competitive ventures, high culture, transhumanism, and other superhype merely alluded to. He inspired Nancy and company to start their organic equivalent of transcendent extrahumanism sooner than later. He was the son she never had after all, but still bore in the realms of ultimate probability and cosmic certainty. The end. Sorry I butchered that story, but I think you get the idea.